Aloha guys, welcome to your very first Adobe After Effects tutorial. Um, so we've already looked into the interface, and right now I'm open in Adobe After Effects. The version I'm using is CS3. The one that you have downloaded, or hopefully have downloaded, is Adobe CS5. Now the differences between there are a lot of new features in CS5, but just a disclaimer. If you are using Adobe After Effects CS5, you cannot open your projects in CS3 and vice versa. You cannot open up CS3 projects in CS5, which is unfortunate. So if you're downloading the trial, I would recommend that you work on only your trial version, or if there is another CS5 After Effects available, then you can work on that version. If you're using CS3, do the same thing. Open it up only in Adobe CS3, After Effects CS3. Okay, so let's get started. We've got quite a bit to cover. So the first thing we want to do is we want to open up a new composition. New composition is basically just like a new document within Microsoft Word. You do that by going File, New, New Project, or I would go to Composition, New Composition. We also have the keyboard shortcuts, so you can hold Control on your keyboard and hit N. I like to use the New Composition button, which is just right here. So we're going to click that at open, and as we can see, let's just go through a few of these attributes, I guess preferences that we have. We have the composition name that we can name. We have different presets, which will be the size of the stage that we will be working on. So right now it's at custom, and we have the width and height. You can lock the ratio if you want it to look a certain way. If you want it to stay, at a standard look, then you can keep it that way. Otherwise, you can, make it larger. We have NTSC-DB. We have a lot of different presets, including HDTV, which would be awesome. And the reason why they have these presets is because if you have recorded footage and they are a certain dimension, or if they've been recorded in a certain format, if it was HD or whatever, 720p or whatever it is, you can create a composition which is compatible with that footage so that you can get the best look possible. Also, you have your pixel ratio, which is pretty much the quality of your actual composition when you're working with it. So we're going to keep that as standard right now. 29.97 frames, usually standard right now. I think 24 frames per second right now is the standard. That's just your frame rate. You would adjust that depending on your footage. If you were to bring in some video that is 30 frames per second or 60 frames, you would adjust this uh, by just clicking on it and typing in, or you can even scroll up and down or whatever, but let's set that back. So 29.97, and then we have our resolution. Now this is important only for working in After Effects. Sometimes your computer is not strong enough to be able to work in full quality, and so when you start working with your composition, it starts to slow down, or it takes a lot of time to buffer and to render. So what I like to do is I like to work at half resolution, and then when I'm ready, then I can export it and render out my video. Um, just to note that this resolution, if you were to change it, does not affect the quality of the video as you are exporting it into to create your finished product or to composite your video. So this is only good for working in After Effects so that you can scrub through and make sure that you can see your project smoothly. And usually the preset is set for 30 seconds, but as you can see, you can always adjust it. So you have your hours and your minutes, or your seconds, minutes, and hours. So and then we want to hit OK. So right now, let me just show you a few things. Right here is our stage. So right here is where all of our footage, all of our images will be shown so that we can know the format and how we want it laid out and all those kinds of things. You can always make this bigger or smaller by, you can use the hand tool, which is up here, or the zoom tool, which is right over here, which zooms, your project. But what I like to do is use shortcuts, and so on the bottom of the keyboard where you have your um, period and your comma, if you just go through those, you can actually expand them, zoom in, zoom out that way. Shortcuts are my favorite because it's a lot easier and a lot faster to move through. After Effects instead of going, up to the tool, clicking it, going back to another tool, and so forth. So I'm going to be showing you quite a few shortcuts to help you get your projects done faster, and so we can get the most out of our time in After Effects. On the side we have our information, which shows us our axis. We have, if you can see X and Y right here, you can see, where they're located on our stage. Also we have our time controls. This is when we get to play back any footage that we have, or any animations that we have available on our timeline, which is down here. So this is our timeline, and I'll go through a few of that a little bit later, but let's move to right here, our effects and presets, and we have a lot of different effects and presets that we can play with. But before that, let's just start our new composition, and what I want to do is I want to import some media. And so in order to do that, you can go to File, you can go to Import, and then you can go to File or Multiple Files. As you can see, there is a shortcut right here, but let's just go to Importing File. So right now there's some things right here that we have, and I can pick multiple things by clicking on one and holding Control and moving to another. Make sure that there are some formats of videos and audio or sound that cannot be imported into After Effects. One of them, unfortunately, being MP3s. So if you have MP3 sounds, you're going to have to convert them into a WAV file, .wav, and I can show you later on how to convert those files. But what I want to do is I want to import an image, footage, and sound. So I'm gonna hold Control and click on these three and click Open. And as you can see, we now have these three pieces of media in our project box. Now what I can do is, since the stage is here and this is our timeline, we want to drop our footage, our image, and our sound effect just into our timeline. So let's start by grabbing the video first, click, hold, and drag it down here, and now you can see we now have our footage. By the way, I created this little video for a project that I had. As you can see, it's got some effects right there, and we can actually go through some of those effects later on. So that's the footage. Let's click, hold, drag, and our image down. Now we have our image. As you can see, and if you've noticed, we have separate layers for each type of media. So we have our footage, we have our image, and last but not least, we have our audio. So now we have all three of these in the bottom, and as you can see, you notice that they all have their own time frame. There we go. And so with these selected, you can select one and you can play around with some of them. You have these different controls down here, which I will probably cover later on. But what we want to do is we want to, just show you what we can do within After Effects with the image and the footage and all those kinds of things. This is first showing you how to import these into After Effects. There are also other tools that we can mention, but let's just first start with what we have right now. So we have our footage, and as you can see, it's already got its own dimensions, and you can always adjust that. You can click on a corner and make it smaller, or depending on what you want, you can make it bigger or what have you. You can always undo or go back by going to Edit, Undo, or just Control Z as a shortcut. Then you can go to your image and you can do the same thing. And also note that because these are layers and our footage is above our image, where our line is on our timeline, because the footage is above the image, you cannot see the image until that footage has disappeared. There we go. Or if you would like to see the image behind the footage, since our footage is pretty big, if we were to scale our footage down, there you go, you can now see the image in the background, and you can scale this up just by clicking and dragging. So there's a few things that you can already do in After Effects by importing media and seeing that they work in layers. And whenever you want something to show in front of another, you can always click, hold, and drag a layer, and you can always move it to another place. Also, what I like about these layers is that, like in other um, Adobe products, you can lock some layers so that you won't be able to, you know, adjust them. And this is good because sometimes you want to move an image or footage, and when you go to move it, you actually move another layer which is maybe above or below it, and you don't want that because then it just is too time consuming. So um, before we finish up, uh, we have imported some media into our footage. We have looked at the timeline. We can see our stage. We've just learned a little bit about opening up After Effects and getting started for your very basic, um, I guess, training for this tutorial. And then finally, we want to show you how to save this project. What we will do is go to File and Save, and then we can choose the folder that we would like to create. Now for this course, we would like to create a new folder, and for this folder we want you to put your last name. For me it would be Scanlon, and then we want you to put underscore AE for After Effects. And this folder is where you're going to save your projects, your videos, your images, your footage, your sound, all of them you want to save here. And then you want to just name your project. You can name it whatever you want, but you will notice that it will be a .aep file, so your After Effects project file. So you can name it whatever you want, and then you can save it. And then, as easy as it is to save, you can just open your project by opening your project and then looking for it where you saved it last. But that's it for this tutorial. I hope you learned a lot. There was a lot to cover in this tutorial. Thank you for watching. My name is Jayla Scanlon. Please feel free to ask me any questions if you need to. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next tutorial.